Games Done Quick is the largest organization in speedrunning, and as such, it provides a special opportunity for those lucky enough to be featured. Many of those who make it on stream don't break 100 viewers on their own Twitch channel, but at Games Done Quick, they can expect to regularly break 100,000 viewers. What might an up-and-coming speedrunner do to make it in front of such an audience? Let's take a look. This story begins with an email from Ronin Pawn. He sent me this message about how someone with an unverified cluster truck run managed to get accepted into GDQ. The submission was looked over by GDQ staff, but the runner kept this video unlisted and never submitted it to speedrun.com, even though it was the world record. Moderators never got a chance to analyze this run. He simply used it for his GDQ submission and then moved on. The runner in question goes by the name Connor Ace, and his run was accepted into SGDQ 2019, as you can see. But this wasn't the original plan. Games Done Quick initially approved another runner, Ronin Pawn, to showcase this game at their event. Shortly after the list was published, Connor Ace asked, "How do I have world record in a category and someone else got accepted over me? Like legit, my PB is 3 minutes faster and no ability. What happened?" I can't say for certain that these events are connected, but very quickly after these tweets were sent out, the runners list was redacted, and when it was put back up, Connor Ace now held Ronin Pawn's place. So what's the big deal? Yeah, it was never verified, but that doesn't prove anything. It looks suspicious, but that's it. Well, even though this video was unlisted, Pawn managed to track it down and began analyzing the video. He noticed something odd about Connor's run. In the center of the screen lies an icon not normally present. This should appear when you have the grappling hook enabled and when you're facing something that you can grapple. But in Connor's run, it's present the entire time. Pawn soon discovered this is a glitch which can be easily explained. It's not an indication of cheating at all. However, because this glitch was active the entire time, we can actually use it to test Connor's run for splices. You see, this icon continues to spin during the level transitions, which means we can predict quite accurately how it should look when the next level starts. Pawn created this overlay, which tracks the movement of the icon. He tested this on every level, and even had others try on their own computers. All of these tests have shown his overlay to be very accurate, except when it's applied to Connor's run. When we add this to his video, we see giant discrepancies which cannot be explained by anything but splicing. I was convinced by this evidence, so I presented it to Connor, and he admitted it. He spliced the run. I thought this was the end, and for a moment, I considered whether this video really needed to be made or not. Well, Connor made that decision very easy, because with little hesitation, he took to Twitter to tell more lies after being called out. He's now taken on the Billy Mitchell defense, saying he never submitted this video to GDQ. He says this video was never submitted to any leaderboard or GDQ/marathon, etc. Except he posted this video the exact week submissions were open for SGDQ. And just a day before he sent this tweet out, he told me he used this video in his submission. I had no idea until I timed it that it would be world record. I meant to delete the video and only use it as a temp upload for my submission, but I lost the ability to edit the submission video. So there you have it right there. This is the only run we've ever talked about, and he just said that he used that video for his submission, and now he's lying about it because he knows that looks really, really bad. And it doesn't get any better. Let me show you a little more of our conversation. He said, "I would have been accepted over him no matter what video was used since my PB was better. For the record, I have gotten better times than his PB on stream." I said, "That's confusing me. Why would you use a spliced run then?" He said, "They were Twitch VODs and I needed a placeholder video." He said, "I never bothered to correct anything because it did not affect the outcome of the submission process. And I never uploaded it to speedrun.com to take Snakeathon's rightfully earned world record away." I said, "But isn't it easier to take a clip out of a VOD than splice a run?" And he says, "Yes, but like I said, I made the video out of frustration from the corrupted video." So he's saying it doesn't even matter he spliced the run because he got plenty of runs on stream that would have gotten accepted over Pawn. But then why not just use one of those runs? Why risk getting caught splicing when according to Connor, he was already the better player? It takes 5 minutes to go clip a Twitch VOD, but it takes much longer to splice a speedrun. And for some reason, he never saved any of these runs. The best time he has on the leaderboard is a 27:13, which is 3.5 minutes slower than his spliced run. Does this make sense to you guys? It doesn't to me. I think it's blatantly obvious that this guy spliced his submission and he's trying any lie he can think of to try to wiggle out of it. It's so disrespectful to the guy you cheated. Connor hasn't said, hey, sorry for stealing your spot. Instead he says, sorry to anyone who was led to believe this run wasn't spliced. He has still not come clean. And it doesn't matter that he didn't submit this to the leaderboards. I'd argue falsifying a GDQ submission is a much bigger deal. Leaderboards can be fixed, but we can never give Pawn his spot back. I'm sure many runners value that spot at GDQ more than any world record they might have. Having a run accepted into GDQ means you get to present your abilities to the largest audience of your life. This is a big deal to some people, and to splice your submission is highly unethical, especially as a GDQ producer. Yeah, that's right, Connor actually helps with the event in some capacity. He said, I am literally friends with a lot of both GDQ staff and their game selection committee, and I've submitted and attended multiple events. I know what I'm talking about when I talk about their selection process. Hell, I'm a producer for the event. I wonder if those connections made a difference, huh? He was also a moderator of this game until this information came out. He has since stepped down as moderator, which makes no sense if you've done nothing wrong as he claims. Pawn tried to address this last March, but guess how this message was received? It was the same dismissive, condescending reaction that you see so often in these cases. Connor accused Pawn of slander. Others told him to stop whining. What, you were cheated out of your spot 8 hours ago? Come on, let it go. Quit whining. Stop causing drama. That's why I hate these arguments so much, because I've seen them used again and again to cover up people's lies. Cheating in speedrunning is a problem, but a lot of them don't want to hear it from me. I mean, why does GDQ accept unverified runs for submissions? Don't they see how risky that is? In my opinion, a speedrun should be verified to the community's standards before being accepted as a GDQ submission. Otherwise, you're going to have things like this happen. And I'm sure for every cheater you do catch, there's at least one that you didn't. There's no doubt in my mind someone has cheated to get into GDQ and gotten away with it. I personally think speedrunning as a whole is going to need to adopt stronger verification standards if we want to avoid getting swamped by fakes, but we'll leave that for another day. I wanted to get Pawn's perspective on things, so I called him for an interview. Here's what he said.
I'd been preparing for 3 months to submit a proper, run to GDQ. Before I recorded my submission, I was reaching out to any percent runners because I had this idea where if I got in under no ability percent, then maybe we could get the run expanded on GDQ so that it's a cluster truck block and you get to see both of the runs because they're very different and it would be really interesting to see them back to back. So first I reached out to Snakeathon, one of our moderators who is just a great guy. And he said he's not into traveling, so I reached out to Connor next. Eventually, I got him to say, yeah, okay, if you get in and you can convince him to do that thing, then I'll participate. And if I get in on any percent, then I'll pitch the idea of you doing the no ability percent. So we had that sort of gentleman's agreement. Then I did my run, submitted it early, and I believe it was the last day of GDQ submissions that Connor's run showed up. And his run included a run against mine in my category, the no ability percent category, which was like a slight, it felt immediately like, whoa, dude, but we had an agreement. But he's got the right as a runner to submit whatever the hell he wants. If he's got a no ability percent run he wants to submit, fine, fair enough. But there was so much else about his submission that was just like, it felt wrong. In addition to the agreement that we had that he didn't bother to mention to me, oh, I'm going to submit against you. He gave GDQ a 27-minute run estimate. And as a no ability percent runner, I felt that was a negligent time, like trying to guarantee in this incredibly RNG heavy category that you can do it in 27 minutes when I believe at that time the world record was 24 and a half minutes, seemed ridiculous. You're going to be on stage and all this stuff. So there was that. There was the question that lingered in my mind, why in the month and a half, 2 months between submission and GDQ's acceptance, hadn't Connor uploaded the world record video, because this run that he'd submitted to GDQ would be a new world record. So it's like, surely you want GDQ, if they check the leaderboards, to see that you've got the world record, and more so to see that your old PB that's still standing to this day, of 27 minutes and 14 seconds, you've just guaranteed them you can do it in a sub 27. Your PB on the leaderboards doesn't even match that. So surely you want to upload that, right? With all those like what seemed to me to be valid complaints about the estimate time and why isn't this on the leaderboards and what about this Twitch percent no ability percent offering that you've never run before, I brought it to the community just to like, voir dire my own, just to present it to them and say, am I crazy? And the response that I got was kind of, yeah. Like people came out of the woodwork who I'd never seen on our Discord server before, or at least, I'd never seen them in the channels that I am on as a speedrunner in Landfall Games Discord server, to back up Connor and say that, things work this way, they don't work that way. And so it doesn't matter that he submitted a 27-minute estimate. This doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The only thing that mattered, according to the people who showed up, was who had the faster run, who had the better PB, which we now know that the PB he submitted was fake. So I look back at those and go, wow, you were all arguing for me back then and didn't know it, because apparently I was the faster runner, or at least the one who didn't have to edit together multiple runs in order to create a fast run. But so yeah, the response from community and Discord was equally disheartening. And really, I think that more than anything kind of kept me awake at night, was that not only did I feel very slighted, but there was just no acknowledgement by any of the other people who I would respect in the leaderboard community, or in the speedrunning community, who said, yeah, that is kind of out of place. I'm a YouTuber, I'm a live streamer, I'm an entertainer by profession. So my income depends on getting people to show up to the shows and engaging them, and from Twitch subscriptions and Patreon donations. And having this run at GDQ would have meant what everybody knows about the GDQ bump. It would have meant that being on, GDQ, people would have looked into me. They would have, tracked me down on my YouTube channel or on my Twitch channel, and they would have started showing up. And it would have turned into, money to pay my bills, to keep the lights on. And because of what Connor did, it went a different way. I was very, like at this point in time, I am looking down the barrel of a hard winter, because I know that the bills in winter are going to get higher. My electric and gas bill are going to go up to $200 and some a month. And I'm watching that my bank account is getting smaller, and I'm not putting the money back from, support from my community. And if I had gone to GDQ, that wouldn't be, I'm almost certain that wouldn't be a problem. And there's also the possibility that, I might have blown up. What you have in terms of the records that he, how he went to explain himself, sounds very much to me like a man saying, yes, I cheated. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because it didn't matter and no one was hurt. And as the person who was hurt, emotionally, psychologically, and economically, I don't accept that as an apology or as an excuse. It would be different if the response was, yes, I'm sorry, I did some horrible things. This is just awful. I wish I hadn't done it, and I'm going to try and make amends, that kind of a thing. But instead, it's, yeah, I cheated, but it doesn't really matter. I'm a faster runner than he is. I would have gotten in even if I didn't splice the video. That's not an apology. That's an excuse. Just play the game fairly. Play the game fairly when you're playing the game and you're recording it with live split, and play the game fairly when you're submitting to GDQ. The other runners are submitting time estimates that they have confidence in, that they know I can run this 99% of the time at GDQ and come in under this time. And Connor's submissions have been roundly times that he cannot meet, and he just keeps going back to GDQ on them. It's like, just play all of the games fairly. Care about the other runners, the other community, the other parties involved, this massive charity event that's trying to help people. Care about them enough to just be honest in your dealings. And now that this has happened and this has come out, one of the biggest, like the best thing that could possibly come of this, because there's hard to find anything good that comes of this, except for the feeling of exoneration I have. But the best thing that could possibly come of this is if GDQ decides to change their policy and demand that a run be verified by its community on the speedrun boards before it's submitted, or be some other kind of run where it's not about the time, where it's like showing off, what the live presentation would be like or something like that. But, the fact that they accepted the run creates the gap for speedrunners to just splice stuff together, send them something, never upload it to their boards. It's never confirmed, never verified. They get in, do the run. Other runners who did the work and, deserve the opportunity to run at GDQ don't get in. That's what I would hope for, is that GDQ will look at its review policies.
The last thing I want to say is go give Pawn's Twitch channel a follow. He got cheated out of his spot, and he cracked this case totally on his own. If he hadn't figured this out, no one would have, so huge credit to him. Let's see if we can help him break 3,000 followers. Alright guys, that's all. Take care.